See how this 2.0 does. Torquey. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a 2022 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. First and foremost, though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Provo, Utah for giving me some time with this Wrangler. Check out their inventory in the description down below. And then on a side note, I just released my car buying course, so I'm going to include a link to that in the description down below as well if you want to save time and money on your next car purchase. Let's get into the video. So under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 24 on the highway, with power outputs being 270 horsepower and then 295 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of this two-door. So first off, you guys notice we've got the venting that comes as part of the Rubicon package. You can lower down the windshield onto those two little things if you guys are wondering. And then coming down below here to the lights, we've got the full LED lights. You've got the accent light with the projector bulb, and then you've got the LED lights here off to the side with the turn signals integrated into them. You guys can see the crazy front suspension through the gap right there. This one has the satin black front grille, which I think looks really good in contrast to the pink. And then you guys can see you've got the front camera right there and steel bumper group. Notice we've got the tow hooks here on the front end, fog lights integrated there as well. And overall, I think it looks really good from a front end perspective. Coming around the side here, you've got 17-inch wheels, and wrapped around that we have 33s in the front and over in the rear as well. And I love the design on the wheel. Notice we got a little Jeep there off to the side, but I think they look great with the black there in the center. And then you guys can see the tread pattern here on the tires. Notice we've got the rock rails from the factory, obviously the giant oversized fender flares. We have our trail rated badge here, Jeep logo just down below. And then notice the mirrors match the door handles, and then the rear fender flare as well. You guys can see that whole setup. And then we have our Rubicon specific shocks you guys can see here from the rear. And yeah, that is your side view. And this is a two-door. Notice that we've got the body painted hard top, which I think looks great. Here's our key fob. We have our unlock, lock, and remote start here. Jeep logo on the back. And then also you can open it up that way. Pretty simple. And popping open the rear, notice that we have the JL series here on the door, which is pretty cool. And then the window pops up, normal Jeep fashion. Pretty cramped from a storage space perspective with the two-door, but you got some storage space. Got 12 volt. Love seeing the pink here in the interior. It's definitely cool. You guys can see underneath here. And all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for the rear. And again, make sure you do it in order. So window first, and then we've got the hatch part second, and there you go. Now let's finish things off with the rear. So first off, you guys can see we've got the LED tail lamps here in the back, gas cap right next to it. We have the spare 33 here on the rear at the camera in the center. And then you guys can see a little Jeep there. Red tow hook there at the bottom, and there you go. Now here's the door panel at the front. You guys can see you've got the nice padding with the red stitching goes throughout our normal Jeep door handle with the mirror adjustments, door lock and unlock. And then here's a quick look at the mirrors themselves. Then we have our Rubicon seats. So this has the leather seats on it. You got the Rubicon logo with the red stitching all throughout. And there's a little handle there on the back of the seat, which will throw it forward. And that gives you access to the rear seats. Now you can fit adults back there, and they actually get vents as well, cup holders down below. It's kind of difficult to get back there, but once you're back there, it's actually a pretty comfortable place, and there's good headroom as well. So yeah, it's actually pretty solid. And then when you're done, you can just put this back into place, and there's room to look before you pop in. Here is the steering wheel in the Rubicon. Really nice leather all around with the red stitching here in the center. Cruise control, got our wiper stock, turn signal stock controls for the center stack, voice command, phone controls. Radio controls are on the back of the steering wheel, and that's all. Now here is the center gauge cluster. You got the RPMs on the left side and the right side, you got the speed, and then you have the screen. You can scroll through a few different menus, see different bits of information on the Wrangler. Pretty standard stuff. The most important thing obviously is off-road, right? Because you know, it's a Rubicon and it's a two-door, but that's all for that. Here's the center infotainment system. First off, we pop in reverse. We've got the backup camera. Notice you can switch between that and the forward camera, which does have trajectory lines. Notice you can clean the camera as well. But yeah, that helps out with off-roading immensely, having a front camera like that. But yeah, really good from a camera perspective. And aside from that, as for the rest of the infotainment system, we've got heated seats and heated steering wheel you can access via the control tab. Dual zone climate, which you can access via that tab. This also does come with navigation, and you guys can see response time on the screen overall is really good. It's easy to use as well. I've got the off-road pages, which is basically like the performance pages from Dodge, but for a Jeep, so it's the off-road pages. And there you go. We've got our analog controls here for the radio down below, heated seats, heated steering wheel, all that fun stuff, dual zone climate, like I said before. Off-road cruise control, recirculates a little Jeep auto stop start with the stability control. And then you guys can see you've got the window controls here in the center, which since it only has the 2 windows that go down, you only need these window controls, so these switches are kind of covered up. And our little media station here. And then since it's Rubicon, front and rear lockers, sway bar disconnect, off-road plus as well. And then you guys can see the drive line select. So we have our 2-wheel high, 4-wheel auto, 4-wheel high part-time, neutral, 4-wheel low. Shifter for that 8-speed automatic. It does have a manual shift function. Notice we've got our cup holders here. Got the brake next to it, and then you can see the whole center console set up there with the USB inside of it. And then since this is a hard top, you can just take off the 2 portions right here, just with the little latches. Here, let me illuminate it so you guys can see a little bit better. And in the back, you do have to use tools for, but it's not too difficult. And this one has the insulation from the factory, which is a big plus. So there's quite a bit of glare, so you guys probably can't see the window sticker too well, but this is like a fully loaded 2-door. Total MSRP on this is $58,530. And let's take it out and see how it drives. Talk about visibility before we set off. There's visibility of the hood, both of the mirrors, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we are setting off here in the Rubicon 2-door, and it has been a long time since I've actually driven a 2-door Wrangler. So this is actually pretty exciting for me because it'll be interesting to see the dynamics of the 2-door. And we're gonna get some climate control action going on because it is pretty toasty right now. We're gonna do sync so that we're low on both. There we go. And so yeah, setting off initially. First off, this thing feels tiny. Feels nice, lightweight, and zippy, which is great for a Wrangler, right? Especially if you want to do some fun off-roading with this. It's what you want. And the other thing that's nice about the Rubicon is it's got really good dampening. So the shocks and everything they put on the Rubicon are great. You guys know that I had a 4xe for a week. So that's basically just this powertrain plus a hybrid component, and that thing's got some pretty crazy power figures. But that being said, this is still great. And the point that I'm trying to make though is having that 4xe Rubicon for a week showed me how good the dampening is on the Wrangler. Like, you go over stuff and it doesn't upset it. And there's a lot of talk obviously about the solid front axle and how that drives from a daily driver perspective. Here's what I have to say. You don't notice it until you notice it. That's really the best way to put it. Is this drives a little bit different from a regular vehicle. Like the steering feels a little bit weird, right? It's not as direct as most other vehicles, and you know, the vehicle and the Jeep kind of floats around a little bit, but again, even when you go over bumps and everything, it doesn't really like make any crazy sounds or anything. But if you go over a big enough bump and you hit the bump stop, then it transfers, because it's solid front axle, transfers from one side to the other, and it's pretty loud. It sounds like you're braking something. I experienced that several times when I had the 4xe for a week. And so, like I said, you don't notice it until you notice it, and then it's very prevalent. But you know, for the most part, like, there's not really anything on road that's that big, unless you like speed over like a big enough like dip or something to where you're gonna, you know, pretty much hit the bump stop with the Wrangler. See how this 2.0 does? Torquey. It's quick. I think this is the powertrain to get. You know, guys, you guys know that the 4xe is my favorite powertrain with the Wrangler, besides the 392. But the 4xe, right, is a little bit more practical from a fuel economy standpoint, and those are easier to get than 392s. But this, still great. It's still really torquey. This is still a great powertrain. Obviously, this is less expensive than the 4xe, so it's got that going for it. So I guess we'll sum things up with the two-door, with the Rubicon, and with this 2.0 powertrain as well. In terms of the Rubicon, you guys know my opinion on this. It's a great off-road package. It's more than what most people will need, but it looks amazing. And obviously it's got the Rubicon name, and you just have that knowledge. You can pretty much go everywhere with this. And so yeah, that's my opinions on that. Now in terms of the 2.0, I think it's a great powertrain. Again, I still prefer the 4xe because that thing's just crazy quick. This is still quick. So if you can't get a hold of a 4xe, or if you don't want to pay the extra money, this is a great second choice. I'd prefer this. I prefer this over the V6 for sure. And then in terms of the two-door, it's fun. It's a lightweight, zippy vehicle. So I'd have to say, if you don't need the space that the four-door has, like you don't have kids or anything, I think this is the Wrangler to get. Because it has that lightweight, zippy feel. It's obviously going to be better off-road because you're going to have a better breakover angle. And I think it looks cool too, especially when you put big tires on the two-door. That's definitely a cool aesthetic. And so yeah, there's this Jeep in Tuscadero pink. This is like the same spec as what I have ordered, except I have a 392 and a four-door ordered, obviously. But this at least looks similar enough to what I'm going to be driving soon, so it's cool that I was able to see this. That's going to sum things up for a video on this Wrangler Rubicon. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larch Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Provo for giving me some time with the Jeep. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see you guys.